days when the GOP was in a veritable phone booth, and now, as we know, the Republican Party rules the roost in statewide politics. And Billy Nungesser will talk about that, among other things. I remember when he was elected in 2015, and by the way, the last two elections, 2019 and 2023, he received more votes than any other statewide candidate. But in 2015, he and Kip Holden, and that was a relatively close race. I think it was about 55-45. They made a pact not to attack each other on personal matters, and they ran what was viewed as a high ground campaign, and I think it might be good for other candidates to replicate that, although as a journalist, I might miss some of the cheap shots that make for good radio, but he and Kip Holden are two people who kept their word, and it hasn't happened since, by the way. So he'll talk about civility in politics, but as we know, the Lieutenant Governor in Louisiana is the head of tourism, and Billy Nungesser has been an ambassador, an unwavering ambassador for Louisiana, and last year we had, you'll hear from him, more than 40 million visitors, and we actually had more than the state of Nevada, and I hear that's a pretty good tourist venue as well. But he also is one of the few politicians in Louisiana to talk about what is the existential threat to us, our coast, and if we don't have a coast, we won't have much tourism, and so he'll cover a lot of ground, as he always does, and he's doing this on late notice and just got back in town, but we're glad to have Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser.
Thank you. Thank you. And I can never tell you no when you call, because you're very good at, when I'm long-winded, cutting me off on the air because we only got so much time, and making me go to the next subject. So if I do that today, don't hesitate to cut me off. And I will tell you, I do believe we need more talking about the issues in candidate races and not making up stuff. And one bill I would love to see passed 1 year is that if you lie about me and the judge says that's a lie, you owe me double what you spent to lie about me. And if we could pass that bill, we could make them really worry that what they were going to say about their opponent, if it's not really true and the judge says that was a lie, it would cost them double, and that would tone it down. So maybe we'll have a shot at that next year. I couldn't get much traction with it this year, but those are some things we could do maybe to clean up politics a little bit. You know, prior to COVID, we had 5 record-breaking years, and I'm real proud of the partners all over Louisiana that made that happen and continue to have such love and passion for tourism. And but if coming out of COVID, we knew we had to do some things thinking outside the box, as many states doubled and tripled their tourism budgets to get back to the numbers that keep their state moving forward with tourism numbers. As you mentioned, we had 42 million last year. I'll go out on a limb and say this year I think we're going to break a new record, and I'm real excited about that. But you know, in 2019, 53 million people visited Louisiana, left behind $1.9 billion in taxes. That's over $1,100 per Louisiana family. It was the 4th biggest industry. Now, it slipped to number 5 since then, but we're quickly getting back to those record-breaking numbers. And the thing I'm most proud of, it's not just New Orleans and the big cities. We've seen double-digit improvement in tourism all over Louisiana. We market Mardi Gras, family-friendly, safe, affordable Mardi Gras in every corner of the state. And we had international people fly into Dallas, rent a car, and go watch them throw hot dogs in Shreveport. And we had people from Australia and Houma, Morgan City, Morgan. And when people come, they meet Louisianans and they leave with a friend for life. And our biggest asset is our people, because we treat strangers like family. And I hear that all over the world. And that's what keeps me so excited about promoting this great state, is because our greatest asset is our people. Now, knowing we were having a change of leadership last year, we leaned forward and we bought a booth at the Film Fest in Cannes. Knowing we were coming out of the strike and people were going to be leaning forward to make movies, we wanted to make sure Louisiana was on the forefront. Luckily, the new economic development director got in and said, look, we're glad you do this. What can we do to partner with you to make it the best we could be. And once again, we had a lot of our studios over there. We had some panels. And I remember back one night, Kevin Costa, we became friends doing the oil spill. He called me about 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night and said, Billy, we're filming Highwayman, and if we don't close this road by tomorrow, we're moving to Kansas City. So I had to call John Bell that evening and get Sean Wilson to close that road so they could keep filming in Louisiana. So when I got up on the panel and the question was asked to me, there's a lot of tax credits in a lot of states, why should we come to Louisiana? I said, because y'all are going to get my cell number, and time is money, and if you have a problem, you call me like Kevin Costa did, and we'll take care of it. So I gave everybody in the audience my cell number to make sure they come film here. But it's a great opportunity, and we showed the year that the tax credits went away, we did a study, because I wanted to know the value of the film industry to tourism. And it showed 9% of everyone that comes to Louisiana comes here heavily influenced by a TV show or movie. You know, when Girls Trip came out, Essence Festival had their best year ever, and people still looking for the zip line on Bourbon Street. There is no zip line, but it was in the movie. But Steel Magnolia put Natchitoches on the map, and people are still going there today. So we know it has value to our tourism industry. Another thing I'm really proud of is, for the first time ever, Louisiana received a grant, $300,000 a year for the next 3 years, to go to 3 new international markets. The Commerce Department wants to lure more foreigners to America. Usually California, New York, Florida gets that money because that's the natural draw. But because Louisiana, prior to COVID, had double-digit improvements in international markets, we were able to secure this grant to go to 3 new markets. Every year we picked our best markets where we get the most bang for our buck. Well, this gives us an opportunity to open our doors to the world, to Spain, Italy, and India. So while we were on this trip, we ventured over to the ambassador in Italy and Spain, hosted an event for us. We had great seafood, brought all our recipes. They had over 100 tour operators, travel writers. We knocked it out the park. And so the next 3 years, we'll be opening up. We're going to India later this year for our first meeting. And for the next 3 years, courtesy of that grant, we will be inviting 3 new international markets here to Louisiana. Now, this year is the year of music. We highlight the food will be next year, the culture. We always try to pick some theme to highlight the great music of Louisiana. And I'll tell you, I'll leave Wednesday to drive to Nashville to have dinner with Lainey Wilson. We're opening her restaurant there. What an amazing story. If you haven't seen her show on Hulu, her life story about Bastard, Louisiana, and how tough her road was to get where she is, an incredible show. And she has not forgot where she's from. She promotes Louisiana. And we've got so many great music ambassadors. And if you remember back a couple years, we had to pick somebody to go on the Rose Parade. And I had seen her video, and I said, she's got it. She's got that passion. They said, well, Billy, nobody knows her. I said, yeah, but you can see it. Well, 6 months after we put her name up, she gets on Yellowstone. Then it took off. Same thing with John Batiste. When we picked him to be on the Macy's parade, out of about 10 people, I saw that video that he did. And if you don't move and shake by watching that video, he filmed in New Orleans in his own neighborhood. And once again, we put his name up. He got nominated. So we've been real lucky at picking some real winners to represent us. And that's something we make sure on these floats, that we guarantee to have a Louisiana performer. And here a few weeks ago, I met with the head of the halftime entertainment for the Super Bowl in New Orleans and gave him a list of great superstars from Louisiana, from Harry Connick Jr. to John Batiste to Lainey Wilson. And I said, please don't bring in out-of-town acts. Let's make this Super Bowl truly a Louisiana Super Bowl. We've got enough talent. Whatever it takes, we'll make it happen. But let's make this a Louisiana show for the Super Bowl and really highlight the great music and talent of Louisiana. So He told me he's going to do what he can, so we'll see if he lives true to that. But another great opportunity to put Louisiana talent on the national stage. Here's a little video we're doing to just get people excited about coming to Louisiana and hear our great music. Hey, yeah. I tell people, I don't know what it is, if it's in the crawfish juice or the soil, but we grow so much talent here in Louisiana. We are really blessed. We have more Grammy nominees per year than any per capita in any state, and we continue to knock it out the park. Now, I wanted to mention, if you want to make a trip of a lifetime, come out this year and help us decorate this float at the Rose Parade. We put about 130,000 roses, seeds, orchids on that float in 3 days, all volunteers. We have a big party with the entertainment we bring at the Rose Bowl Stadium. You get your airfare in your hotel. We shuttle you back and forth. We found a little old lady in Pasadena, true story, I know it's a song. She owns a beignet truck. She's from New Orleans. So we bring her into the den, and we have hot beignets from 5 to 9 every morning. And, of course, for lunch, we serve up good Louisiana seafood to everybody decorating all the floats. We've made some friends for life. And, as a matter of fact, we've booked several conferences with the National Rose Association and other groups that are out there decorating floats because of our presence there. And I'll tell you, it's not only that what you see on TV. Our riders and our partners from around the state, we have a satellite truck in the den. And from 5 in the morning to 10 at night, we're doing interviews all over the world. You see, Chicago would love to have a behind-the-scenes look at building the floats. We give it to them. Just give us 5 minutes on your morning show to talk about Louisiana. So we get about $28 million return for less than $1 million investment for this float. As a matter of fact, we won't be in the Macy's parade this year. It was the end of a 3-year contract. And because they moved the float by so quickly, and we looked at the return on investment, and it just doesn't come close to the investment and the return we get. But you can bring your kids, your grandkids. They crush up the coconut. Every part of the float has to be covered in a seed, weed, or plant. And when you walk in that den and see thousands of flowers and things I can't pronounce from all over the world, it's pretty exciting. Now, we have the Super Bowl this year. And I pray every day that we're going to get the city cleaned up and put our best foot forward to make Louisiana shine. We went out to Vegas for the Super Bowl and had meetings all week, from security to how do we get more of the corporate sponsors in town. I went and leaned forward and put up some billboards and said, the Super Bowl might be here, but the party's always in Louisiana. We'll see you next year. Well, the NFL made me take them down by the stadium, so we moved them over to the boulevard. But we wanted to get a leg up on getting people excited about coming to Louisiana. And this is a great opportunity to really make Louisiana shine. And hopefully we will do that for the Super Bowl this year. Now, our state parks had our best year ever. And when I took office, Jay Darden gave me a tour of the office, and he said, look, Billy, I want you to know you got to close 7 state parks. You just don't have the money to keep them open. And I said, well, Jay, why didn't you close them? He said, the hell, I was running for governor. I wasn't closing them. But not only did we keep them open, thanks to our sheriffs and local volunteers fixing and repairing some of the bathrooms, today they're in the best shape ever, and 7 are making a profit. When's the last time you heard of a state agency making a profit? And through our private-public partnerships, I see a day when we don't need any tax dollars to run our parks, and they can generate millions of dollars that can be used for culture, recreation, tourism. 2 things at Bogachita State Park: horseback riding and the mountain bike trail. This mountain bike trail was just named the #2 mountain bike trail in the country. And if you know Washington Parish, they had very little tourists. State Fair is about all they got. Now you go into Washington Parish on any weekend and you see horse trails, mountain bikes on cars. It has changed that parish because people come from 10 to 15 states every weekend to ride this trail. Take a look. That's the one I'd be on. Watch this jump. I think we only had one broken arm on that. Another thing we're doing is I've been looking around the country, what are other states doing right? And I found these track trails in Georgia. And this track trail is like a little army tank. So we bought one to try it out where you can take a child out of a wheelchair and put that to go into the trails and see the deer out on the beach. It was so successful the first month we bought 11 more. And no cost to the family. You reserve it 24 hours out, and if your child can't work it, the little remote control detaches where you can walk behind it. It has been a game changer. We will be opening the first special needs playground at Fontainebleau later this year. We will get some children in there and tweak it, and then we will be building those special needs playgrounds at all of our state parks. We've got one group that wants to do a special needs swimming pool. But we not only want to make our parks accessible, we want to make them inviting. We're looking at private-public partnerships for additional cabins. 2 out of every 10 cabins will be not only special needs accessible, we'll put that special bed that some kids need to sleep in. The dock will fold down so you can fish from a wheelchair. So we want to take every amenity we can to make it inviting for the special needs community at our state parks. We've got a lot of new cabins, a lot of new pads, and we just opened bids on, you see these VIP RV lazy rivers? So we've got a group that wants to put one of those on, we've got about 2,000 acres next to Fontainebleau that we're looking to put one of those partnerships that will bring in millions of dollars to the park system. But one thing we won't do, we won't put anything in a state park that competes with local business. We vet it with the elected officials, the chambers, and make sure it's a win-win and it doesn't disrupt the peacefulness of the park. One group wanted to put a go-kart track. No, we don't want that noisy. It's got to be something that fits within our mission of the state park and adds value to the community for us to consider it. But we're looking for new ideas and new things to do all over the state. Now, state museums. I failed miserably this year. And I brought y'all some of the packs, if you're interested. When I got elected, our museum in New Orleans had not had a new exhibit in 25 years. The windows leaked. The wax on the floor was 8 inches. They were in horrible shape. And I had a little dispute with the museum director because he wanted to bring in new exhibits before we sealed the buildings. He left. But we finally got our buildings in shape. We had the King and Queen of Spain. We had the French president. We've had more exhibits and more visitors than ever before with very little money. But I did a study with a group, the large group. I said, what are we doing wrong in Louisiana? Well, the first thing they discovered is a politician shouldn't be elected the board director. Mitch Landrieu took it away from the board years ago. Ever since then, we get no foundation money. They don't want to give money to a politician. So I need to give up control of the director. Secondly, people in Shreveport don't care about New Orleans, and New Orleans don't care about Shreveport. So the recommendation is to have 3 boards, one in New Orleans, one in Baton Rouge, and one in Shreveport. Merge the Secretary of State's museums with our museums. She would have just as many appointments as I would. Each Friends group would get an appointment, so they would control the mission of the museums, is the way it's meant to be. She would not agree to it, wouldn't even discuss it. Met with her, not interested. She put political people in those museums. The Friends Group in Shreveport does not raise any money for them. They're closed on Saturday. We had a group from Dallas shake the door, go back to Dallas because they thought all our museums were closed. I'm so disappointed. I beg the legislature, bring it to a vote. If I lose, I can take that. Wouldn't let it out of committee. But then they passed a bill giving me the Waterworks Museum because she quit funding it last year. The oldest waterworks operation in the country has been defunded by the Secretary of State, so now they gave it to me with no money. I'm going to have to figure something out. This is the right thing to do. We would have these 3 boards. We'd have an oversight board. Each board would have a seat. That board would need no money. They meet once a year to approve the budget. We give the governor, Speaker of the House, head of the Senate a seat on that board. Why? Because we want their friends on the board. So they go to the legislature and get one budget approved for all 3 boards. That way Shreveport's not fighting against New Orleans, who's got political stroke. That way the money goes where it's most needed. We also have about 11 the Secretary of State gave back to local government with no money. They're sitting there hoping somebody walks through the door. Well, I've leaned forward already. I bought the name LouisianaMuseums.com. We're going around filming all 211. Yes, we have 211 museums. And we're going to put them on social media. And I don't know if you've ever been to the Gothic jail in DeRidder. There's a ghost there. You can interview the lady and the people there. There is a ghost. So we put a little money on social media. People like to go where a ghost is. 4,000 people showed up in DeRidder looking for that ghost. So we're going to be able to target market all these incredible museums. But the reason I want these put together, in the long run, it will save money. It will run them better. And I even put in the bill that we would have a year to organize, make sure nobody lose their job, and we put people to fit where they want to fit. You see, I want to have we have these riverboats docking. 3 are going to dock in Baton Rouge. I want to have a tour of all the museums and a night tour of the state capitol. But I can't do that if we don't organize and work together. So I failed miserably in getting that through the legislature this year, but I'll be back next year. And hopefully, in the meantime, people will get the Secretary of State to realize we don't need politicians running museums. We need to give up the power and let the people have a love and passion for them do the right thing. Now, we just crowned a new king of seafood in Monroe. And when I moved it to Monroe, because that thing needs to move all over the state, Billy, nobody's going to show up. First time it ever sold out. Incredible crowd. These chefs have such love and passion and really do a great job at promoting our seafood. Now, I do want to tell you one thing. It's no secret I'm against the diversion. It will not build land in our lifetime. Why do we have a 50-year coastal plan? Nobody here is going to be here to say they pull the wool over our eyes. It is the biggest fraud ever pulled over our eyes. It cannot build any land above the waterline. It's impossible. Open up the river settles. It isn't going to lower storm surge 1 inch to the coast. If we took a dredge and took that BP money and built berms, ridges, and islands, we could lower storm surge and your insurance every year. Storm surge would get better, not worse. Why are we not doing that? Dredge companies ain't going to give you a lot of political donations, and they can't give you $300 million in studies. Follow the money. Follow the money. I was offered a lot of money to run for governor if I changed my mind. Wrong thing to do. This will go down as the biggest fraud ever pulled over our eyes. And if you follow the money, you'll see why. Oh, the scientists say it's going to work. They're getting paid. The groups that have supported it have gotten grants, either through the Walton Foundation or some of these companies that have gotten money. At 11 o'clock on a Friday night, when we know Congress does their dirty work, they got a waiver of the Marine Mammal Act from Donald Trump. First time ever. Instead of studying what this is going to do to our seafood, our wildlife, and our fisheries, they're going to mine for 5 years. After they spend $3 billion? Wouldn't you want to know the harm you're going to do up front? When I brought that to Chip Klein, he said, well, Billy, if we did the study, we probably couldn't build it. Well, maybe we should. Now, if it was going to save the coast, kill them. Kill seafood. But he can't lower storm surge. The Marine Mammal Commission in Washington commissioned a study by St. Andrew Institute. If we build this diversions, dolphins will be extinct within 50 years. They didn't tell you that with the $5 million they spent advertising, we got to build a diversion and save the coast. Dolphins will be extinct in 50 years. It'll kill 50% the first 5 years. Why is that important? The dolphin is a canary in a coal mine. When it dies, everything below it will die. And some of the politicians, oh, they'll swim away. Dolphins are territorial. They're not leaving. When we opened the spillway in 2019, we killed more dolphins than the BP oil spill for that short period of time. The lake still hasn't recovered from the polluted water. It's not a freshwater diversion. It is a polluted river. It will wipe out our seafood, and it will greatly affect our fisheries. See, the Barataria Basin is where everything starts. You know, Chip Klein came out when he was head of the CPRA and said, don't worry, Billy, we're going to give the fishermen $25 million to put refrigeration on their boats so they can go further out and catch shrimp. My daddy was in the shrimp business. Shrimp grow in the basin. When they mature, they go offshore. You kill them there, they'll need to give them fuel tanks to go to Mexico and catch shrimp. And don't worry, we're going to give $25 million to rehabilitate dolphins. When you see those dolphins with sores all over the body, they die a horrible death. How are you going to rehabilitate them? If it was going to do any good to save the coast, and there's a new study out that they won't tell you about, because the sea rise, and it's actually have a negative effect on coast. Can't build any land. And the reason New Orleans ought to be concerned, if we don't have a major hurricane for 10 years, the seawall around New Orleans is sinking. Sea rise is rising. Worse than Katrina, when FEMA comes in and does their maps in 10 years, says you got to raise that wall 3 feet. Where are we going to get the billions? But if we built land out in that marsh and lowered storm surge 5 feet to the coast, we just bought an extra 100 years of, an extra 50 years of 100-year protection. Makes common sense, huh? But it doesn't make a lot of people rich. It's getting the best price for a dredge and just pumping and going. I'm going to share a little commercial with you. I ask you to ask before you eat. We're on the verge of losing our seafood industry, and I believe if we build this diversion, there will be no more Louisiana. And not only is the seafood important to the families that have done it for generations, how are we going to sell restaurants, come in and eat some shrimp from Taiwan? That's what makes Louisiana special. Take a look. Whoop.
Louisiana seafood is the best because it's fresh out the Gulf and it's that love and passion that goes in preparing it.
This is something that is taught through generations. Well, this is what we are taught to do. This is what we love to do. You know, we feed America. We feed the state of Louisiana. We just want to make sure that it stays around for generations to come.
We all need to get involved if we're going to save our seafood industry. Ask before you eat.
Demand Louisiana seafood.
Sorry, I get a little heated about that subject, but it's very passionate to me. I wanted to mention Volunteer Louisiana. We're in hurricane season. I'm so proud of this organization, over 10,000 Louisiana volunteers. We partner with AmeriCorps, Samaritan's Purse, Baptist Ministries, all these faith-based groups. If after a storm you need trees out your front yard, you sign up online. Those Baptist ministers come out with their chainsaws, cut the trees out. If you need your house mucked and gutted, we got crews that do that. And the thing I'm most proud of, we still have crews out there today from the last hurricane, and they stay the course till every task is filled. We had a little over 18,000 requests from the last hurricane. I think we're up to closing out 14,350. But it's a great organization, partnered with great groups that come in from all over the country, but a lot of great Louisianans, once again, like we always do, helping our neighbors out in tough times. Like I needed something else to do 2 years ago, I asked the legislature to move Keep Louisiana Beautiful under my office because I didn't think we were doing enough to clean up our state, which, by the way, if you haven't noticed, is a very dirty state. That year, we had 43 groups around the state sign up for Love the Boot group, Love the Boot Week. Last year, we set a record. This year, we set another record, over 800 groups, and for the second time in a row, in all 64 parishes. And we got a lot of work to do, but we're well on our way. I had a bill that got voted down. I asked for $1 a year added to your driver's license to give me about 3 or 4 million more to clean up this state. And I voluntarily put in the bill, it will sunset in 2 years. And I told the legislature, if I don't save you 10 million, you take it away. Give me 4, I'll save you 10. Last year, we spent $100 million cleaning up Louisiana after the fact. Education, enforcement, volunteerism, all the things. Look, I met with 7 other states that have done this. We hired a litter expert. There is a litter expert. And we're following the model that has worked in other states. We just need a little bit more money. Now, it voted down. They told me they were going to bring it back up today. But I'm already meeting with trash companies and organizations to get donations to fill that gap if we don't get it. Because I am not going to stop until we don't have to spend money and we don't have to look at the trash in this state. It's too pretty a state. And I'm telling you, I'm so encouraged by people that are stepping out and helping all over the state, from elected officials to volunteers to church groups. We're going to do this. And I ask you, if you got a pickup truck, clean out the back. My wife tells me I'm going to get shot because when we go to Walmart, I look in every truck, and if they got dirt, I write a note, Lieutenant Governor, please clean out your truck, and I put it on the windshield. But we now have where you can check out tongs and vests at every library. If you pick up garbage for 1 day, you're 80% less likely to litter. And if you get a litter ticket, you're 80% less likely. So we either want to give you tickets or we want you to volunteer, and those people that litter will stop littering. This is something that we all can get involved in and make a difference. But it's too important. We waste $100 million cleaning up this state. We could spend that on better stuff if we can change. We're educating. Look, I ask every elected official to speak in the schools, and I tell kids, you go home and tell your parents if they litter, you're going to call the Lieutenant Governor. I had a couple of moms call the office to make sure their child wasn't lying. But we can get to the kids. They love to tell their parents what to do. We partner with the DARE program. We're going around hosting events around the state. We're doing litter summits. We're going to do this. And so anything you can do to help, we appreciate.
Hey, Louisiana, how are you stopping litter?
In Terrebonne Parish, we put our trash in a bag.
And then we're out the window.
At the end of, we bag it, tie it, and put a lid on.
We keep litter out of our lakes in Lafayette.
And in Calcasieu Parish, we keep our truck beds clean.
And we secure our loads.
We need every person in every parish to stop littering and let Louisiana.
Is that a sign I took too much time? Thank you all for having me. And we got time for questions? Do you want me to take questions? Thank you all again for having me. Yes, sir.
Well, down in, right near your house in Clackamas Parish, those 4 or 5 pumps, I've been fishing down there, 17 years now, Billy, and I don't think I've ever seen them turn them on.
Listen, the 2 diversions on the river in Plaquemines, I could not run them wide open because they cut the budget. They never cleaned out the fingers. If you open them up, they would overflow the banks. So the 2 pipe, we do need to have some fresh water in the controlled, the salinity, so don't kill the oysters and the fish. But I could never run those wide open because the Corps cut their budget and didn't finish the project. If you open them up, they come over the levee because all the fingers where it was putting fresh vegetation and fresh marsh, brackish marsh has deep roots. When we did Carnarvon, everybody flies over and says, look at that beautiful greenery. That's floating marsh. First hurricane, it's gone. So what we're doing is we're letting them fool us. When they said Mardi Gras Pass had 3 culverts when I was parish president. When it blew out, I begged them to put the levee back. It would have cost $6 million. We got a private company to donate the money. The Corps and Lake Pontchartrain Basin fought me. Now it's 4,000 feet wide, 100 feet deep. Look at the land it built. No, that's the levee it washed out. And guess what? 1/3 of the river goes through that diversion. And let me tell you this, I'll make you a promise. You think we had problems with salt water up the river this year? Next year, if we open this diversion, New Orleans will have salt water. Now, when I told the court, you know what they decided to do? We're going to spend $25 million and we're going to study it for the next 5 years. Whether that is true. Take a third of the river out, less push, salt water's coming up. When I was parish president, we built a little levee at the bottom of the river, kept it at bay at Buras. Every year Mardi Gras Pass got water, it's coming further, coming third. Now you're going to take another third of the river and dump in Barataria Basin? Where do you think that water's going to be? How do you think those hotels are going to run air conditioners with salt water? It'll shut down New Orleans. But they're going to study for 5 years. Because the guys in charge will be retired by then. Sorry. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Were you also going to say a few things about civility in politics? It was on the program.
You know, I just got back. I was asked to go speak at, and I'm going to get the name wrong, Unite America, Save America, a group out of Arizona. And it gave me hope in America because it's 30 billionaires putting up a lot of money. And when I fought the closed primary 2 years ago, they came over and met with me. I went over and sat on a panel with Lisa Murkowski from Alaska. We were the only 2 elected officials there. They had about 30 senators and congressmen that quit out of frustration. They're speaking as well. But China and Russia is not our threat. We're our threat. And they had a lot smarter people than me. Journalists, writers that wrote about history said, if we don't fix Congress, we are destroying ourselves. We can't fix the budget, the defense, the deficit. And the only way to do that is to have people vote for what's right, not what gets them elected. Colorado Lieutenant Governor is a good friend of mine. She's a Democrat. We have a lot of the same beliefs. She can't say it because she won't win the primary. If we don't, and they're fighting for open primary across the country, and these billionaires are putting up a lot of money, not for political influence, because they want to save this country. And it gave me hope at that 3-day conference, and I'm going to start speaking about it. I know we closed the primary for the election next year. I don't think there's anything we can do about that, and I think that was done to punish Bill Cassidy. That's my personal belief. But I think long term, if we don't change something, we're never going to fix it in Washington. Yes, sir.
You sent a representative because you were at a function, but you sent that representative to testify in favor of Heather Cloud's public records bill, and you were not alone. But can you take this opportunity to let us know why?
So, because the governor asked me.
No, why?
Well, he asked me to put a green card in, and I did. But if you listen to the statement she read afterwards, which I wasn't got a lot of flack for, it said, "I'm putting a card in, yes, but I've always been in favor of full transparency and open government, and anything that I ever have in my office, you or anybody's entitled to anytime. It's the only way to keep us honest doing the right thing." So I was asked by the governor, and I made a commitment, as I did to John Bell, never to speak ill about the government. I got to work with him. We can agree to disagree in private, and it was something I was asked to do. But they wasn't happy with the statement I read afterwards, saying, vote, put a green card in, but I'm in favor of open government and transparency. Yes.
The state capitol is literally black on the top 5, 6 floors. It's filthy. Do you know if there's any effort to?
We tried to get money. Matter of fact, one of the recommendations was made to turn over the apartments, and historical preservation is under my office, is to turn that over to my office. Hadn't done that. Besides that, the barracks are falling apart. There's holes in the walls. It's being eaten out. And what I keep telling the legislature, water's getting in those walls. Y'all going to have mold in your apartments, and they're going to have to gut them all, and it's going to cost millions. And you ain't going to have an apartment for legislative session. Y'all better fix something. But that's handled by the administration. Hopefully I can have a little more influence. And look, if we can come up with a plan, we can probably raise some foundation money to help with that. But I can't hire the people to tell me what it's going to cost. But hopefully with the new administration, Taylor Byron's a great guy, love working with him, that we can get some interest. But you're absolutely right. It's the most beautiful capital in the country. It ought to shine. I've been trying since I've been elected to fix the lights around the ground. And so it needs somebody that cares about making it the prettiest it can be, not just cutting the grass. And so I'm hoping that I can get some, like I always say, we just want to do the right thing, and sometimes you get embarrassed about doing the right thing. So hopefully Taylor's going to take some interest in telling us what it's going to cost, what we need to do. And if we need to go find some historical money, there's grant money out there. You just got to have the passion to go do it. So I'm on board with you 100%. Yes?
Billy, you mentioned that the state spends $100 million doing cleanup work. Years ago, I worked with a man from Pennsylvania, and he commented to me, he got his doctorate from Penn State in chemical engineering. And he made the comment, he said, you know, the farther south you go, the more trash you see along the road. Okay, so here in Baton Rouge, we've got, what's her name, Jennifer Richardson running Keep Tiger Town Clean. But where's the state and the Department of Transportation who has responsibility for the roads and cleaning up the trash that's out there?
Great question. So when I went and looked at the contracts, I met with 5 of them. 4 of them admitted they've never picked up trash. I'm like, well, you get paid to pick it up 6 times a year. We don't pick it up, we just cut it. When I went to Sean Wilson back then, he said, we don't have the people to police them. I'm now doing an analysis of all the money given to local government to cut grass and pick up litter. They don't give them enough, and they don't do it. What I want to do is cut grass 6 times a year, pick up litter 12 times a year, figure out which municipality needs, offer some of the DOTD money they're not spending properly. And I'm going to tell you, the new DOTD guy has been great. Finally, they've given me all the data. We're working through it. We need DOTD has enough trouble fixing our roads and bridges. They don't need to be cutting grass, and they don't need to be fixing my welcome centers. I waited 9 months to get a bathroom fixed. And they hire subcontractors. Let me do it. I got a travel team goes around and fixes everything. We could do it for 1/10 of the cost. We need to let DOTD do what they, and take some of the stuff away from them. So that's something I'm working on. I'm hoping that the new DOTD guy finally gave me, they didn't want to give up the records because they've misspent the money. And so, and then I tell you, new head of state police and our sheriffs, great job. By law, the people that go out there and take your car off a highway has to pick up everything. We got several sheriffs now. If they don't, they go to the bottom of the list. They get passed over. So our record services are going to, and we're going to start giving them tickets if they don't do their job cleaning up the record sites. We're meeting with the new tire companies. Now they use tire for mulch. That's the only mulch I buy for my gardens. We want to see if we can get these tire recyclers to pay $1 a tire. Talk about clean up all the tires. People will go looking for tires then. So we got a lot of things we're working on. It's so much, but we're going to do it. I had a meeting this morning with trash company. If you notice, more interstates have the interstate wall. So what I want to do is get the company that's picking up the trash in Baton Rouge to buy a street sweeper and a vacuum. Because when you go down the ramps, it's full of trash. We got no room. You can't get out and pick up trash. You get killed. So there's a suction truck with a thing out the window. You can just zip down and suck it up. I want them to buy a vacuum truck and a street sweeper. We're going to wrap and said, such and such trash companies cleaning up Baton Rouge. We're going to give it to Baton Rouge and make them use it once a week. DOTD has a street sweep, I think, every 3 months, 4 months, does the interstate. Not enough. So I'm going to meet with each trash company to get them to buy into, it'll be great publicity. And guess what? When the renewal comes up with a contract, hey, we're giving you this equipment. How about keeping us on board? So we're going to get private companies to invest in helping us make this happen.
Okay, when you drive down to Plaquemine Parish, just before you get down to La Fosse, there's a long bridge there. It's full of trash. Okay, so DOT does the square root of 0.
One last thing. When I was parish president, I put 21 garbage cans on an angle. Every road leading to Highway 23. 90% of the garbage went in or around those cans. Most people moved it. So I put 2 up on the exit by my house, buy another sign so we didn't cause traffic problem. Before you make that turn to get on the interstate, DOTD made me take them down. They promised, the new guy promised to give me some sites. 90% of the garbage thrown out your window when you get on the interstates in the first 5 minutes. If you give me one of those cans where you can pull over and take a shot, we'll keep 90% off the interstate. Thank y'all so much.